Prozac really, what are we talking, 82, 83? Like it kind of became mainstream, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, so there's still an art form even to the prescription of these medications. Different people react differently. You know, you need to kind of know them. You need to be able to follow them. There's lots of side effects. Like some people take Wellbutrin and they, you know, immediately start shaking.
That was me.
Right.
Horrific anxiety attacks.
Horrific anxiety attacks. Other people take it, and it's a miracle drug for them. So, and you know, it takes a lot of time of working with a lot of clients to really sort of be able to sort of tell what people are like and what kind of medication might work best for them.
I just don't think many people. I mean, you know, like I said, I think you two happen to be two of those people in the profession. But I think the scary part is that there aren't enough. You know, there aren't enough doctors anymore. In that, you know, maybe it's where we live in Hollywood or LA that they're more, you know, willing to just, you know, listen to the client wants instead of the client needs.
I mean, I just think a good doctor just listens to their patient, but it might be an ideal world.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the other thing that's interesting is that, especially, I mean, you're working mostly in Beverly Hills, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I do some pro bono work, like at homeless shelters. I do a little bit of work in, you know, the West Side in Venice and stuff like that. But yeah, but my practice is in Beverly Hills, and I work at UCLA.
Right. So the upper end sort of economic spectrum clients, the resistances and types of issues you deal with in terms of getting medication, what they want. I mean, they're used to getting what they want. And if you don't give it to them, they're going to go to somebody that will give it to them. So it's very difficult to join with a patient in a meaningful way and have a lasting relationship with those types of resistances.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're treating someone that's like a celebrity or somebody with a whole entourage or team. I pass up a lot of kind of those types of people because I basically ask them, if you know, whatever celebrity person, if I can talk to you directly and you're actually going to listen to what I have to say, and you're not going to send some manager on me or some publicist or some lawyer or whatever else, I'll work with you. Right. But if I got to go through any of your handlers or your enablers or anybody else, no way.
It's amazing, actually, isn't it? Right? I mean, I've worked with several. Actually, I think we have together.
Yeah, we've had together.
We've actually, in the past, Reef and I actually worked at the same facility.
You know, I also worked there.
Yes, and so did you.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
did I.
You worked there? I didn't see you.
That's because that was the point. I was trying to do online stuff to repair certain.
Oh, you were on the DL.
Damages done by certain damages done by certain magazine stories.
Oh, jeez.
And try to bury them down a little bit.
With one of the.
Do you know how to do stuff like that?
Yeah.
So you can take stories that are on the net and bury them.
Yes.
That's a good skill.
It's not.
He's the cleaner of the internet.
Well, you know, it takes time. I mean, because you know, it could happen to anybody.
Yeah, that's scary.
You know,
stuff.
you could have somebody that really dislikes you out there just, you know, spread, you know, insidious and, you know, non-factual stuff, and there is a need for people that could do that.
No, I totally agree.
I actually think it's going to be a whole industry.
It is. I mean,
you know, companies that will manage your online profile.
I had a friend that asked me to do it because, you know, he was going on a show and he said, "Can you do me a favor? Can you bury a lot of this? You know, because when you Google my name, like stuff that's not very flattering comes up." And I gave it, you know, and I buried. You know, all you want to do is make sure it's not on page 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You know, nobody gets to page 3. You know, if you're going to page 3, you actually really want to read something bad about that person. You know,
there's got to be something.
Yeah, you're reading something bad. You know,
page 28. There's got to be something.
And so that's what I was brought in there. So we all worked at that, you know, illustrious establishment.
Yeah. You know, we could name it. It was Wonderland. I mean, you know, I liked Wonderland. There were some good things that happened at Wonderland. There was also, unfortunately, a huge management dispute between the owners.
Right.
You know, I came in there trying to fix it. It didn't work.
It is a beautiful facility. It's a beautiful facility in LA.
Yeah, I was there from the beginning. It was a booming place when it first opened.
You know, I think you know there was some very good things about Wonderland. Unfortunately, you know, the principal owners didn't like each other. It doesn't lead to a good facility. But you know.
And the number here is 877-8-830-830. The number here is 877-8-830-830, which goes to another thing. It's hard finding a treatment center. It's not easy because, you know, it's again like you were saying with celebrity, you know, and their handlers demanding their care. Mm-hmm. It's hard because, you know, to turn down a patient means you're turning down a lot of money. And that's one of the hardest things in any practice to do, is to say, to stand on principle.
Capitalism versus care.
Capitalism versus care. And especially, it's an industry that no longer really takes insurance. When I was
starting to more and more, though. The insurance things, when the economy kind of dropped, the insurance things kicked in more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was younger and I needed to go to treatment, my insurance.
I think it's actually more that people are actually willing to go to insurance-based facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the economy. The economy changed a lot of things that way.
Yeah, nobody was willing to throw out $45,000.
Yeah. Now they're like, no.
Well, I mean, it's tough. I mean, these are all things, but I also think it's. I've been sober quite a while, and I'm obviously in a certain 12-step program. But I believe that for the next 100 years, these are huge issues that are going to have to be combined together in some form or another. Because and me and Andrew and I have had so many discussions about this. You have people that say they're professional psychiatrists in certain 12-step programs, and professional therapists that aren't.
Yeah.
Offering relationship advice and offering all these, and you have a bunch of people out there running around thinking, well, he told it to me in my 12-step group. He must know what he's talking about.
Right. And
a lot of times they don't.
Yeah. It sounds good.
It sounds good, right? It's like, they're like, well, I'm having a really rough time. Did you read page 447? And I'm like, yes, I read page 447. I still want to blow my brains out. Like, what step are you working? And I believe the steps are amazing, and they've worked for me, but there's this myth that every problem I have can be cured by the steps. It's the same myth by thinking every problem I have can be cured by a pill.
Yeah.
There's got to be the healthy balance. Sort of what these programs are about is that balance.
Well, I work with a lot of patients and I'm a huge 12-step fan, but the spiritual aspect of it is what I'm most interested in. Yeah, there's this structural end to it. There's this community end to it, common goal end to it. But the finding yourself and personal transformation part of it is what intrigues me the most.
Carl Jung, too. That was Carl Jung. That's what he was most fascinated by, which he was treating that client, Roland Hazard. And he said, the only thing I could see that's going to save your life is this spiritual...
Right. This transformation, awakening,
whatever you want to
call it.
Another thing, people have a lot of uncomfortability talking about.
So I do a lot of lectures on the neuroscience of spirituality and what happens in the brain when you meditate or when you do yoga or when you do various things that have spiritual transformative kind of qualities to it, and there is some science behind it. I mean, it's not just this. There's a big difference between spirituality and religion. You don't have to suddenly go, oh my God, it's this whole religious thing. Yeah, some people view it that way with their vocabulary, but you don't have to. It doesn't have to be that. But back to the point, it's eventually you have to reintegrate in society. You can't go to meetings every single day,
right,
twice a day, preaching the big book all the time and lead a life where you have a career and a job and like all that other stuff. At some point you have to take what you know, still do what you have to do in regards to recovery, but also lead your life.
Which is a huge thing. That's and what I always talk with Andrew about, and this isn't an infomercial for Andrew's facility, but what I love about KLEAN is that it's in the heart of Hollywood.
Yeah.
You're almost forced to deal with life. And I used to go away, and it's you've seen Shawshank Redemption, that analogy where the walls become your friend.
Yeah.
I was great at rehab. I was in 6 of them. I was the compliant client.
You got an A. You got an
I
A
got
in
an
rehab.
A in rehab.
Yeah.
But the second I'd get out, I'd be like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I had they did not show me at all how to live life.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like the concept in anxiety disorders, because Andrew was talking about anxiety disorders, is exposure therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take somebody who has a fear of airplanes and you take them to the airport. Exposure therapy. So for rehab, it's not like we take people in rehab class. We're going on a field trip today. We're going to a crack house.
Right.
We're just going to hang out for a while. You don't do that.
Right, but there is a healthy take them to a baseball game.
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying,
right,
is that you don't go hardcore
right,
with exposure. But if you're in the heart of Hollywood,
right,
like we're in Beverly Hills, like
right,
if you're not isolated in Malibu, I mean, there's great facilities in Malibu, but it's harder to do more reintegrative work. It's great from a spa perspective,
right,
that you've got the
amenities,
and they have the
place.
druggy mobile where they take everybody to meetings together. Yeah. It's great.
I think one of the things that I mean, obviously, I started in this field 20 years ago, and owned 9 psychiatric hospitals and now run 2 substance abuse facilities. And I've seen just all these different types of treatment programs that have existed over the years. And I like the fact that, there's all sorts of new things that we can start looking at and working with, from harm reduction ideas that we can look at mainstreaming and the integration of treatment in the community. And that we've moved, the deinstitutionalization has, had a real good idea in the beginning of these community mental health centers that would have showers and real places for people to, have a safe place to be and get medication on a regular basis, and outreach counselors. And all that got killed, of course, after Kennedy got assassinated. And now we have these really subpar sort of community mental health centers.
Right.
That are underfunded. And it's not for lack of the care that the professionals there try to give, because most professionals at community mental health centers are actually very good at what they do. But they, like the people in acute care psychiatric facilities, are doing brief therapy at best and medication management. And so, what else can we do? And I think, the idea of being able to use private pay facilities to develop new treatment programs and then also be able to provide free beds for people that don't have the money is a unique way of really changing the field. And that's what certainly we're trying to do. And it sounds like you're doing quite a lot of the same things recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had good minds think alike.
Yeah, well, that's right. Thank you so much for the compliment. But no, I had a drug counselor in Israel. This was years ago. I was 18. I was in rehab in Israel. And my drug counselor, his name was Johnny Pollock, just a cool guy. And he used to take us to, like, concerts.
Okay.
We went to see, like, REM, and Radiohead. Radio opened up for REM in Israel. In Israel. It was just this amazing...
That's a good concert.
It was an amazing concert. But he showed me that you could have a sober, fun life. So he sort of took that out of, like, my, like, well, you can't be sober and not have fun. Yeah. Which you hear a lot, like, where's the fun in sobriety? But he showed us how to live life. He would take us bowling. He would take us to the Dead Sea. He would take us all over, and he was, like, integrating, and he would give us therapy as we were walking. Mm-hmm. Like, in the middle of, like, playing, a hand of gin rummy, he'd go, so, what do you think about the steps, Friedman? And, like, in the middle of it, and I'd be like, but it started really because I didn't feel like like there was no hope. And I think part of the problem with so many places is there's no hope.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you go,
there's an artificial hope. It's like this,
or somebody gave you the hope. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The hope is that you're going to get sober, and then it's some sort of mystical fantasy idea of what you're going to do after that, without any real aftercare planning.
With none.
Or any practical experience.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Aftercare, for the most part, stinks.
Well, certainly, if you go to a rehab 500 miles away from where you live, you're not going to have much of an aftercare program generally.
And I don't care what they promise you, the website promises you, as far as if you're 500 miles away, you're probably not going to stay in touch.
You're going to get a phone call once a month.
Well, that's the point. Your aftercare should be set up with your life. It shouldn't be set up with what the rehab thinks you should be doing. It should be customized to you.
Right.
Right? And there's places that don't do that.
Well, I mean, there's even a pill in a sense for that, which is sober companions. They're basically saying to you, so many places,
or sober coaches.
Or sober coaches, it's like, well, we don't even trust you, to leave this. We're going to give you somebody 24/7. Boy, that's a way of showing somebody how to live a life.
Yeah.
Is that they need to be flanked by somebody, and that's. There really does. I mean, which sounds great that your program really treats this, and it's called Control. I like the name. It sounds, the Control Center, because I'm a big fan of Get Smart. And what was the organization in Get Smart?
You Control. Can me, was it?
Yeah, it was Control. It was Control versus Chaos.
Yeah.
And you're against chaos.
There you go.
I like you, Doc.
Against chaos.
And the number here is 877-8830-830. The number here is 877-8830-830. We're giving away free Angel tickets tonight. I know that sounds so exciting.
Yeah, we do need to have our trivia question.
Okay, what were we in the car thinking? About weight and IQ?
I think, still we haven't gotten the truth. This is just terrible. Let's take the break and we'll come back with the question.
If you could guess who's older, Andrew or I.
Well, that's easy.
Ooh.
And the number here is 877-8830. You heard me silent. 830-830, 877-8830-830. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio with Dr. Reef Karim and Andrew Spanswick.
All right, here we go.
For the black boy.
Back on KLEAN Radio.
Scarface the Fix, that's who that is.
Yeah?
Remember the Ghetto Boys?
Stumped me twice tonight. That's the first ever.
Okay, on music. And the giveaway tonight is Angel tickets, and if you can guess who is older, Andrew or Judah.